Hello, everyone. I'm Kristen Miller-Zone, Curator of Collections and Exhibitions at the Lauren Rogers Museum of Art in Laurel, Mississippi. We present this conversation in celebration of the exhibition In Threes, which brings together the intertwined visions of a married pair of celebrated Southern photographers, Maude Schuyler Clay and Langdon Clay, and their youngest daughter, Sophia Clay, who is forging her own artistic path. Rooted in Sumner, Mississippi, their collective work spans decades and reflects both shared craft and shared history. The exhibition arranges their images in groups of three, highlighting echoes, divergences, and recurring motifs. It is presented by the Do Good Fund in Columbus, Georgia, and is curated by Ashley Gates. She is a photographer from Jackson, Mississippi, whose work has been exhibited nationally, including at the Ogden Museum of Southern Art, Aperture Foundation, and the Griffin Museum of Photography. She holds degrees in philosophy and English literature, spent 13 years developing her photographic practice in New York City, and now maintains a studio in Jackson. Thank you, Ashley, and welcome to you and to Maude, Langdon, and Sophia.
Thank you,
Happy to
Kristen.
be here.
Thank you for
Happy to
having
be
us.
here. Thank you. Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our discussion of about N3s. We'll be talking about the work of Maude Schuyler Clay, her husband Langdon Clay, and their daughter Sophia Clay. Um, Maude Schuyler Clay was born and raised in the Mississippi Delta, where she continues to live and work. She assisted William Eggleston in Memphis um, when she was younger and then moved to New York City and worked at Light Gallery. She was later a photo editor at Vanity Fair, Esquire, and Fortune. She returned to live in the Delta in 1987 with Langdon and was the photography editor of the Oxford American magazine from 1999 to 2004. Her work is held in the collections of the Museum of Modern Art, the National Museum of Women in the Arts, and the Houston Museum of Fine Arts, among others. She has published books, including Delta Land in 1999, Delta Dogs in 2014, both of which were published by the University Press of Mississippi, and Mississippi History, published in 2015 by Steidel. Langdon Clay, he was born in New York City. He was raised in New Jersey and Vermont, attended school in New Hampshire and Boston, and moved to New York in 1971 and spent the next 16 years photographing there throughout the United States and Europe. That's where he met Maudie. And in 1987, they moved to Mississippi and they've lived there and raised a family. His work, Langdon's work, is held in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London and the Bibliothèque Nationale de France in Paris. Steidel published Langdon's Book of Cars, New York City, 1974 to 1976 in 2016, which I should add is out of print. And his upcoming book from Steidel will be 42nd Street, 1979 and 2011, 2023. Sophia Clay, their daughter, was born in 1994. She is, of course, from the Delta. She's currently living in New Orleans. Her work centers around the temporality of the man-made within the natural, often focusing on how the natural world reclaims a space. She finds a particular beauty in ordinary or mundane objects. Her work has been exhibited at the Dixon Gallery and Gardens in Memphis, New Orleans Photo Alliance Gallery, Southside Gallery in Oxford. A little bit about just how this all started. So in 2024, which is hard to believe, it's been that long, Alan Rothschild from the Do Good Fund reached out to me and asked me if I would curate an exhibition. And I was very excited. And he said that he wanted it to be kind of a Mississippi-centric show. And so he said, we can either select prints that we already have in our collection, or you can do something entirely different. So he gave me just full reign to do whatever I want, and I'm very grateful to him for that. And of course, my first thought was I want to show Maude and Langdon's work, and not just their work that most people have seen already, because a lot of people have seen it, but I want to show a lot of their work that has not been seen before. But I also want to show that they have an amazing artist and daughter, Sophia, who is kind of following in their footsteps, at first, I think, reluctantly. But sort of has her own voice, and it's been amazing to watch her grow creatively. So instead of choosing kind of a one single theme for this show, I wanted it to be, I don't know, th having a theme like around the Delta or the South or something. It felt a little too reductive to me. So um, I, pitched kind of the family angle to Alan and said that I really want to show the three of them and just show their, relationship to their art, of course, but also their relationship to one another as a family, of artists, and just kind of how rare that is. You, of course, hear of couples, or duos that are creative partners and make art together, but it's rare that you have, an adult child of theirs kind of actively working alongside them and sometimes collaborating directly with them. Um, so I just thought that their bodies of work were could be really threaded together in a beautiful way. So, like I said, rather than choosing a singular theme, I just kind of chose an organizing principle, which was in threes. Kind of in choosing this organizing principle of threes, I thought that that would be an interesting way to kind of let their images converse, across generations and styles and subjects, um, rather than having siloed walls. So, in other words, I didn't want to have just a wall dedicated to Maudie, a wall dedicated to Langdon, and a wall dedicated to Sophie. I wanted to create these groupings. I guess you could technically call them triptychs. I mean, they are groups of three. Um, but it was a really fun and like surprising, like so many things surprised me as I put these together. I had ideas initially, and then when I put them together, certain ones together, they didn't quite work, but then I would see something and go, that's it. That's what this group should be. So here are the some images from kind of our process of putting these together. Um, the one on the upper left, number one, that is in Sumner, and I think I had made these prints like just really small. They're kind of poor quality, but they were enough to just kind of visually spot patterns. Um, I love kind of finding a signal in the noise. Um, and then Sophie, that's Sophie, in my studio. We were looking through all of her work. I mean, you have to understand these three, of course, Maudie and Langdon, have decades and decades of work. Just piles and of negatives and prints. Sophia, of course, doesn't have as much because she hasn't been alive as long, but she still has a great amount of work and has been really prolific in the last few years and just kind of shoots roll after roll. So, and has some beautiful digital work as well. So there we are in my studio. Number three, that is just kind of a candid shot of Richard McCabe, um, our wonderful friend and curator of photography at Ogden. He and Eli from the New Orleans Photo Alliance, they were helping and Richard helped install the work. He's that's what he does best. And thank you, Richard, if you're watching this. And then Sophia and um, uh, Maudie in Columbus, Georgia, is in picture number four. That was at the Do Good Fund. So 1019 and gallery in New Orleans on the left, and the Do Good Fund on the right. And what was so kind of interesting about this process too is seeing how different the work kind of looks in different spaces. That if you, for anyone watching, if you've been to the Do Good Fund gallery in Columbus, there's a wall of brick and then there's a wall of wood, and it's a very kind of warm and cozy space. Really such a great place for the community to gather. We actually, during our talk in October of 2025, it was their most well-attended event that they've had to date. So I think that really speaks to how much people adore and appreciate the Clays, and we're also curious to see Sophie's work in the mix too. So yeah, those are some pictures of the process. Okay, so getting into just one of the groupings that I chose. Like I said before, I was some of these came together in surprising ways. I knew that I wanted to have, of course, the photo of Maude's photo of Bill Eggleston smoking the cigarette. Maude is, of course, a master at just kind of getting people in the right light, in the most beautiful light. Her portrait work in Mississippi history is just sublime, and this is such an amazing photo of him. And I wanted to kind of just have a little vignette here of smoke and fire, and kind of show their styles and the similarities, but also kind of where they diverge. So this is Langdon's photo in the middle. Um, this is a field of wheat burning, right, Langdon?
It is, and it's an homage to J.M.W. Turner, a painter from the 1860s in England. Did a lot of seascapes with clouds and so on,
Yes.
and burning and battles with burning ships and stuff.
Right.
So it's my homage to him.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
he's a wild card here.
Um, and then the photo on the right, Sophia's photo, I thought was just really funny and really playful. And I really love how Sophie's work kind of combines just her mother, I mean both of her parents obviously, but especially Maudie's kind of just ability to just immediately get someone in the perfect light. And just the sun is just kind of radiant on this young person's chest. And Sophie, tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so this was in New Orleans prior to moving here. Actually, I was visiting some friends and we were at Fat Harry's bar, which, if you've ever been to New Orleans, you've probably been to Fat Harry's next to Superior Seafood. And up comes this entire group of people, and they called themselves the Tacky Pub Crawl Gang. And they're all wearing the most ridiculous outfits I've ever seen. One of them was wearing a hat that said, "This is a Chevy country. Late at night, you can hear a Ford rust." Just like some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. And so, of course, I asked them if it was okay if I could take their pictures, and I got their information. I actually sent them a gallery set afterwards. But when I saw this woman's red phone with her Marlboro Reds, I just couldn't resist. And I thought what made the picture so great is the anonymity of it, not even knowing who's behind that, I think.
Right.
Gives it
I
an
was just
interesting twist.
I was just gonna say one reason why I love it so much, Sophie, is kind of it's a complicated picture because it's there's this mystery to it, but it's also very playful. I mean, it's almost like I know that she's a part of something joyful or celebratory, but also I'm not entirely sure. Like I'm wondering, why is this phone and this box, pack of cigarettes in her shirt? Um,
Right. Well, lack of
something
pockets.
else could be
I must
going
say
on
I've
here.
done that before.
Yeah.
But you
And
would
so
never know that this person was a part of the tacky pub crawl gang.
right. Well, now we do. Um, yeah, so I really loved this trio, just kind of there's just kind of this not there's no real narrative here. It's more of just like a unifying kind of motif. Um, and Maudie, tell us about this picture of Bill Eggleston. When was this? And
I think that was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. They can't really tell you the date of it exactly, but Bill lives in Memphis with his son Winston Eggleston and family. And he's a chimney. He's smoking constantly. And so they had this outside porch with a screened in area that he was relegated to, and he's always cold. And I mean, this is like high summer, and the guy's got on a cashmere vest or something because he's always cold. So he didn't mind that he was relegated to this outside screen porch to smoke. And it was about 90, I think, outside. I believe it was summer. But he's just, a very elegant looking dude, and probably one of the biggest influence that I have had in photography. One of them.
Not just you.
Yeah,
I would venture to
He's-
say all of us.
they call him the father of modern color photography or something like that. But anyway, it was just one of those moments where we were talking, and he just strikes this pose as he's wont to do, because he is an elegant soul. And took a puff off that cigarette, and the light was, blaring through the background, and it was a lucky shot. What can I say? Anyway, I have
But when you get one of those shots, you
Yeah,
can feel
you
it.
know when you get it, and you knew you got this one, I bet. This is just, yeah.
I'm not sure. I think I did. I don't have the ability to look at now I'm using a Leica square digital. And I used to have to, when I was using the Rolleiflex all those years for the Mississippi history photographs, I'd have to wait until the film was developed, get back the contacts, see the pictures, and decide which one was the best. And I think people can do that now when they take a digital photograph and they look at their photographs. But I find that just is not the way I like to take pictures. So usually what happens, I go home and I download all the photographs onto my computer, and then I can look at them. But I
Mom,
may have,
when you're doing that, and so aside from like looking at it right then and there, because I don't really do that a whole bunch either, but I'm more referring to, do you get that feeling of,
oh
oh, I
yeah,
think that was a really great photo?
well, I used to get it a lot more with the Rolleiflex, because you're looking down into a
Mhm.
ground glass. But I think
It is.
I was pretty sure I got something that day, but it was just a visit with Bill, and I wasn't quite sure until I got home that, I didn't realize that there was this photograph, which is absolutely one of my faves, portrait of him that I've ever done. And I've done many over many years. But I think it kind of says a lot about who he is and the beautiful background. But anyway, it was just a lucky shot.
So
But
aside from like looking at it right then and there, because I don't really do that a whole bunch either, but I'm more referring to, do you get that feeling of,
Oh
oh, I
yeah,
think that was a really great photo?
well, I used to get it a lot more with the Rolleiflex, because you're looking down into a ground
Mhm.
glass. But I think
It is.
I was pretty sure I got something that day, but it was just a visit with Bill, and I wasn't quite sure until I got home that, I didn't realize that there was this photograph, which is absolutely one of my faves, portrait of him that I've ever done. And I've done many over many years. But I think it kind of says a lot about who he is and the beautiful background. But anyway, it was just a lucky shot.
But can I just say, there are times when it's pretty clear you've got a keeper, prize winner. But also over time, and by time I mean even decades, if you tend to photograph the same subject matter, but in different locations, then you look back and something you might have rejected when it was originally made fits into a set of other images you've made later. And it takes on a new life for being rejected the first time, because you're now seeing it through a nostalgic lens or through some other way of organizing. And so I guess my real point about that is it's worth going back for things and going over again and again what you have worked on and what made you shoot it in the first place.
And I just want to add to that, it's also very effective and different when you have an independent curator, who in this case is our good friend Ashley, who is able to go through lots of work that and then somehow see its relation to, you know, what she's thinking the work looks like, which is just to me kind of thrilling, because you know, you go through I go through life with blinders.
Yeah, I hope, Ashley, that you didn't feel that we directed you in any way. I felt it really was your project.
No,
Did
no, I didn't feel that way at all. I mean, I was basically invading their home, for days at a time, for stretches. I mean, I didn't just show up unannounced, but they knew it was part of the big plan. But it was really challenging at first when Alan kind of approached me with this, because I thought, oh gosh, what an exciting thing. I get to curate a show of their work. But then I had to kind of sit with it a few days, um and this just kind of clicked. And because, like you said, Langdon, you really do, even though I've seen a lot of this work before of y'all's, um it's a lot of it is newer, especially yours, Langdon, in this exhibition. It's some of it's newer work, and same for you, Maude. And um I really loved, just it was just like I was playing. I mean, it was fun. It was so exciting to make these little groups together, and seeing just how Sophie's work also plays into it. And it was so crystal clear to me that you both share, a lot of influences, but also have your own distinct voice, and that it was such a great opportunity to show that, just how intertwined they are. Um,
Well, I never would have thought some of these groupings. I probably told you even I want to say the extra added burden of Ashley having to come here and basically live with us for a while to do this show is, I'm a little moody from time to time. And but I was really
I'm glad we
happily
got that on tape.
I was
Me too.
actually pleasantly surprised that it all worked kind of just so beautifully. We had a couple of wrangles here and there, but I don't think they were serious. It was just that this had to be done, and she had a very certain idea of what the three people's work was going to look like separately and together. Anyway,
yeah,
Well, and for me,
yeah.
it helped tie in because, as someone who reluctantly became a photographer because children at the ripe age of 18 typically don't want to turn into their parents. It was very helpful just to understand how much my work stems from riding in the car with you both growing up and stopping and taking photos. And if you see something, to take a moment to actually capture that versus just letting it go. can't tell you how many photos I've just let go.
Yeah,
Like
well,
one
then
time
you're
there was,
talking about
yeah.
them instead of being able to, look at them and think of that as part of your work. And I've got a few that got away too, but I think that's very, very important, is to make it a priority, to take, if you possibly can, whatever you see, even if it's a bad photograph, at least you have this record that there was something there that you saw that you thought was interesting.
Yeah,
And the moral story is you always have your camera with you.
Yeah.
And or your iPhone if you don't have a proper
Yeah.
camera.
I
Yeah, I mean,
I think you have
remember,
to kind of know the embarrassment and the, sometimes intrusion, if there are other people involved, and just realize, hey, this is what I do, and I need to take this photograph and deal with
well, I
all the
also think
rest of
it's
it
very
later.
different today. I don't know. I think that there's this interesting aspect of the fact that everyone has a camera now in their
Yeah.
pockets. They have a tiny computer in their pockets. Whereas, Mom, when you were shooting with the Rolleiflex, did you find that if you were looking down, it kind of disarmed your subject? Because
Yes.
I'm still
Yeah.
pining for that camera. I know you said over my dead body. However,
No,
I
I'm
would love
thinking
to
about it.
experience that relationship to your subject where they're less aware that you're
Yeah.
looking straight at them. I feel like that probably made a big difference
I
for you.
also think, as a photographer, with that kind of special instrument that belonged to a photographer, you had a little bit more respect and leeway to do your job, because it was not everybody was a photographer. It's kind of a specialized thing, and for better or worse, that was how you were perceived. And I never ran into any serious trouble when I was taking photographs. That I may have blocked it out, but I don't know. For the most part, it was a great adventure, and I don't remember anybody, particularly being averse to my taking photographs of them or of this situation, the scene.
Well,
Less
but
so averse
Sophie,
is what I'm referring to. It's more of people kind of tense up and feel afraid of having a camera in front of them, not like this
Oh, you mean
outright.
specifically the Rolleiflex
Specifically, the
did.
Rolleiflex looking
Yeah.
down, I
you weren't
feel like that
shooting like
created a
a gun.
different, exactly.
Yeah, and the other thing about the great German ingenuity of the Rolly was that it was so quiet. By the time you had hit that shutter, or 10 times you hit the shutter, it was so quiet, the people didn't really even know when you were taking the picture. They were just concentrating. Well, Sophie, you were one of our biggest subjects, or my biggest subject, and quote, victims. I mean, after a while, you just kind of, you children, who were, I think, some of my best subjects, relaxed and just kind of did your life, and like, oh, that, not, oh my God, there's my mom with a camera. You just
Right.
thought,
I don't think my other
what she
friends
does.
felt the same way.
Yeah, I think
They
that, oh,
I
sorry.
hope they did.
One thing that Sophie is driving at, I think, is that there was a time period before iPhones where an actual camera was semi-unusual. And if you go further back to the work of somebody like Vivian Meyer, who was just a maid in Chicago with sometimes a Rolleiflex, sometimes a Leica. The key to her success is, of course, surprise. Her people she photographs had no real idea and were not used to being photographed. Now, in Sophie's era, everyone is totally used to it.
Yeah, and you're
So-
primping and, you know,
so
like, this
it-
is my best angle. Let me see which shot I need to use. You know, I was referring to that earlier.
Kids grow up being photographed so much that they always know which is their best side and so on. So that element of surprise is gone.
It's been
And
taken
you
away,
could
certainly.
say it's a shift between analog and digital, whatever. I don't know where the actual dividing line is, but something has changed over time. And now we're going into the AI versions of it, and who knows what that holds.
Okay, so where is the previous slide, where there are three different images from different times, different subject matter. I also wanted to have groupings of something that they've all three photographed. And in this case, I really mean like the same exact building, which is Hitt Chapel.
Many times.
Um, and I wanted to show these, one, because of the just kind of the stunning architecture. I mean, just the vernacular. This screams, of course, the Mississippi Delta to me, but it's the same chapel, but they're taken in different years. I mean, even decades. And um, you'll notice that the spire is different in all three of them.
That's called tornadoes.
This one was less about their, creating a narrative and more of showing something that they've all photographed. That they're rooted in the Delta, and the Delta is kind of this anchor for them. And you really get a sense of the passage of time, seeing these, the tops of them change, and the season, I guess the bench is the same, but Langdon, tell me about the one on the far left. So this was in the morning, right?
Well, originally I was attracted to it by the kind of homemade steeple.
Yeah.
And the kind of green copper thing that tells who founded the church in 1952. But you have to understand, there are a lot of these churches all around the Delta, or less and less are they here. They get plowed under, and that's one reason to photograph them. But the other thing about going back and back in different light, it's a road, we pass it a lot naturally, but sometimes I'll just get up and go at sunup just to see what's going on there and what's been planted behind it in the fields and so on. But really, where in my head is coming from the work of William Christenberry, who I'm sure many, and of course Walker Evans in Hale County, Alabama, did that with certain buildings.
Of this group, because Langdon is such a master at kind of capturing just the built environment in beautiful light, and just kind of the vernacular architecture, and Maude's in the middle. I feel like that could be in kind of the color version of Delta Land. It's set farther back. It's more of to me, it's more of a landscape, quote unquote, landscape photograph. You have more context there. And then Sophia's, I also love, because some people may say, oh, well, the porta potty's there. I guess I'll come back another time. But she captured it as it was. And I think that that's something that they all three have in common. They capture the world as it is. There isn't any manipulating being done. It's really amazing to just kind of accept as it is, and photograph as it is.
Warts and all.
Warts and all. Um, yeah, and again, kind of this
One thing
idea
I want to
idea of
note is
place, but also the passage of time. Go ahead, Maudie. I'm sorry.
and also the different times of day.
Yes.
Langdon, he's a big early bird. That's at dawn. Mine's probably, closer to the end of the day. And then Sophie's, is that the end of
Mine
the
is
day?
also at dawn. That was
Oh,
a
okay.
journey out there with Dad, which is
Okay.
the
Well,
only reason I was able to get out there so early is because he drove.
Well,
I just have so few dawn pictures.
for
I'm a
anyone
mess.
watching, Maudie is not a big fan of the morning. She's not a big fan of morning
Yeah.
or dawn. And so
Nor am I, but
anytime
The
there's something
afternoon,
organized early.
late afternoon light, is really
Yeah.
my jam, but it's because that's also my biological clock in addition to it, to me, just being the most beautiful color of light, that late orangey and the gloaming type of light.
Hmm.
I mean, this
Yeah,
one's a little bright, but
they also reflect
yeah.
everyone's circadian rhythm, you know?
Right.
yeah,
That's
Exactly.
right.
except for
Um,
mine, because I'm also not a
yeah,
morning person.
yeah.
But I was recently discussing this with friends about how I'd like to be more intentional the way that you are, Dad, about setting out to go take photos, even if you don't know what it's of, but that
Hmm.
early morning stillness that comes at that time of day, just the world is kind of waking up, and there's something so beautiful about that. And I almost feel like you can feel that in both the photo on the left and the right. Like there's nothing else
Yeah.
that's really happening at that time.
Well,
And there's something so special about that.
some of that is because of the pandemic. I wanted to get somewhere and take a photograph with early light and be home to have a bowl of cereal before 8 and before anyone else was around. Because then I would have to interface with them, put on a mask, whatever. And so it meant that those forays became a kind of pandemic relief. Not that, I mean, it didn't really change our lives here in the Delta that much. We could still drive pretty much anywhere. It wasn't like we lived in a big city, but I got into the habit from that period.
And you took this with your 8x10, is that right, Dad?
Yeah, I've done it with all the different cameras at different times. But the thing about the intention, you check the weather, it's going to be a nice day. Your car is actually working, and you get your cameras by the door and you're ready to go, and you get some coffee and you're gone. You don't know what you imagine and where you're going to go. You might have made notes and you have a place you have in mind, but something else happens on the way or next to it, or you turn around and look backwards, and
And
there's
there's a
something.
dog peeing on a lamp.
Yeah, right. You go. So
Or sitting on a log.
well, it's
Yeah.
an adventure because nothing is that predictable.
So, as we've talked about, you saw the group of three that has kind of the theme or motif of fire and smoke. And then we saw the hit Chapel series, which is all three photographers photographing the same subject. This one is one where I really tried to kind of create um, just a narrative, like something through time that to me was really moving when I saw it laid out because it's um, really shows their love for one another. Um, so on the top left, you have Langdon cutting transparencies. As you would probably guess, this was taken by Maudie because it's in this, just beautiful light. And Langdon is what, in your 20s? I mean,
So he
30s?
was
No, in my
30
30s.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's just it's so romantic and beautiful. Um
And
I
that's one you discovered, Ashley. I had no recollection of ever even taking that photograph, and it was one that I had overlooked. And I
Yeah,
wish
this
I
is one that I was really, really excited to include because I knew
oh,
that it
yeah.
hadn't been shown anywhere, or like Maudie said, that she didn't know that she had it. Um,
Yeah.
so I kind of created this narrative just like of their of Langdon is kind of the central um character, I guess I should say, in this, but their voices are all here. Um, in the middle, this is Langdon's photograph taken in the car with a cutout of Maudie on the dashboard when she's very young. Was this like your high school senior
That was
portrait
my
or
high school graduation shot.
so beautiful?
Like
Composite.
picture.
Is that what
And
that's
the
called?
day before the pictures, I had all this long hair like Sophie has. The day before the pictures, I took a pair of scissors and gave myself that haircut. I
You did a good
pretty
job.
bad. I think I did
I
a really
bet Baba
job,
was
but it was,
pissed.
like, hey, I'm going to be somebody else in this picture.
I did
And
not know that. I don't think I knew
I
that
didn't
part of the
yeah,
realize that
story. I
either.
love that. Especially because we have scissors featured in the first. So, yeah, I so on the wall, these are, in a row. So the square one, um, by Maudie with the Rolleiflex of Langdon is on the far left, and then the horizontal one, by Langdon is in the middle. Um, and this one by Langdon to me really, he titled it Highway Girl. And it really just, I mean, to me that looks like what it feels like to be in the Delta in the car. Um, it's very recognizable to me as the Delta and just kind of the feeling of being in the car. It's this wide
Which you are
expanse.
frequently in the Delta.
Yes, in the car with y'all.
drive
Um,
around.
and just this photo on the dash is so sweet to me. And then on the right is Sophie's portrait of Langdon shucking oysters. And I really just gasped almost when I saw this because the light is so beautiful. She's really her mother her mother's influence is clear here. Um, but I love that it's almost like a Vermeer painting to me. You have this one directional light coming in from what seems like it could be a window, but I think they're outside. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. All I know is that it's really striking. And Langdon is shucking oysters here, I believe, during a holiday or a family gathering.
It's Thanksgiving in Oxford.
Yes, Thanksgiving. And
I'm concentrating to keep from putting the knife into my palm of my hand.
yeah, so I love that Sophie captured this. I think it really shows her tendency to, I don't know, all of them, just the way that they attend to the world and care for each other, um, and the world and photographing it. I think it's probably my favorite in the whole show.
I think
Um,
it's mine as well. And a
yeah,
lot of that is, or another connecting feature of that, and I know we've discussed this, Ashley, is Dad is Langdon is Mr. Fix-It in the household in Sumner. And so in each of these photos, there's a tool involved. With the
yes.
scissors, you're cutting the film. And then when you're actually taking the photo of mom on the highway, your camera is your tool and then your oyster shucker. And I think that's such a beautiful tie to who you
And he's
are.
driving. Don't tell the
Yeah. On the spreadsheet that I had, so when I put all these
No, I wasn't driving.
Okay, all right. I want to think driving.
um
Boyd was
on the
with us.
spreadsheet that I made, that kind of just like my own shorthand, not a title that would be, in any exhibition text or on the wall, but just for my own kind of reference. This group on the spreadsheet was just called cutouts. Because the photo of Maude is cut out. Langdon is
Mhm.
cutting these transparencies. He's, shucking oysters. Um, and now we've learned on this recording that Maude cut her hair just before that little photo of her was taken. But yeah, this is really, really beautiful to me, and just as evidence of their ability to care for each other, and their love for each other, and how they capture the world and a place. So I don't know, Maude, were you, this is one that kind of surprised me, and it wasn't something that I just kind of had in mind beforehand. It was one that kind of came together as I saw things laid out in prints. Were you surprised by this one, Maude, or did it?
This grouping or that
Yeah,
photograph?
the grouping.
I think it's lovely. It's a bit of a puzzle that seems to somehow fit together. And I'm pretty thick, I guess, because there were some of these groupings that it took me a minute to understand, what was going on. But now I really appreciate it. And especially when you see it in print form on a wall, it's pretty exciting to realize, all the thought that went into this and all the years that went into, especially Langdon and me, doing all this work, that somebody else would be able to make this grouping.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
happy.
basically this whole show is me kind of imposing my own pattern recognition and my love of just patterns and motifs, and just
But I
celebrating
also think
their work.
it speaks to the relationship you have to us and that we have to you. I think there's something that translates through your curation about just how much we care about each other and are intertwined in our lives. And I so
Yeah.
appreciate that your beautiful curation is tied to the connection between the three. So really, I mean, it's four, let's be honest. One of
Yeah.
my favorite things about y'all's relationship to Sumner is that you have an open house to photographers and artists of all kinds. And I think that fosters this environment where you can actually go and photograph together in a way that I think
Mhm.
photographers maybe don't on a typical basis. Whereas we make it part of our routine when we are together, all of us, Ashley
Did you
including.
sense that as a kid growing up?
I think I realized it a little bit later on. But we always had people coming through. I got to meet some of the coolest people
Right.
in the world, really.
Oh,
Well, yeah, this place itself, Grey Garden South, as I call it, has been a real oasis for the family, for photography, for, just it's a big old house that has been able to store a lot of several generations worth of books and art and, conversation. I feel like it's almost a sacred space. It is for me, but I'm glad that Ashley, as a quote outsider, was able to realize, that this is kind of a special place.
well, and just as a note, side note, the guy that built this house was Maude and Bill Eggleston's grandfather. And he was a serious amateur photography doing glass plate negatives back in World War I period. And he's the one that gave Bill the bug, and Bill gave Maude the bug. And we've all
And
been
we still
living
have
here.
the glass plates. That's
Yeah,
the
we
good
still
news.
have all that, but it started a whole generation further back than most people even realize.
Yeah, I love that kind of hidden part of it. I think to me, I mean, what I really hoped for, I told myself like this will be a successful thing if they walk in and see it and feel, I don't know, proud of, and see how much they've accomplished, individually, but as a unit, I mean, and just how special and rare their bond is. And so I really just wanted to show that, um,
Yeah,
that
you
this
did a
isn't just,
great job.
well,
Thank you.
thanks. That yeah, it's not just photography. I think it's evidence of a family bond and a record, a really important record of a place that is being lost to time. Um, and we're all very lucky that you do what you do because we get to look at these beautiful photographs.